Hello and welcome to Coffee and Bonsai with Tom. Today we're going to work on my golden Aurea tree, also called the golden leaf, Portulacaria Afra, and I call it Apollo. This will be the third winter that I've had this tree, and I feel it is developing quite well. You can see it's growing quite well. This tree is always a good grower. It grows in nice and thick, small leaves. You can see it's quite healthy, and it has a nice base on it. It's really one of my favorite varieties of Dwarf Jade, and I think this one, I'm not as crazy about the pot, but it's kind of growing on me. It has a lot of root depth, which I think has helped the tree to be healthy and to develop. It's just a simple Japanese pot, but let me, adjust this and get it in frame, and we will start doing some work on this thing. So my goal today is just to, tune it up. It's looking quite a bit shaggy. It's healthy. I don't want to do any major work to it, just kind of refine it and get it back in so you can see the detail and probably an overall shape like that, just sort of round it off and give it a profile prune and then come in and really do some more finer detailed work, after that. But before that, let's take a walk down memory lane. I got this tree off of Etsy. And you can see here what it looked like, about 2 years ago, shortly after I got it. I kind of put it in a pot, and it's sort of like a stump in a pot, and that's what I started with. I then moved it into its so far permanent home into this pot, and you can see it's starting to take shape here. I was really just developing the top, which was just a sprig to start with, and now sort of the right, left, and back branches. And, you can see not a lot of Nabari on the bottom. I mean, it has some promise there, but I'm very surprised how much that has thickened up in a short time. And then the final picture, a short while later, you can see the tops really filling out. And I really allowed that to go wild because I wanted it to, more seamlessly blend with the trunk and get some taper there. And I don't have too many pictures after that. I didn't really start taking regular videos of all my trees until I started the channel. So it'll be a lot better going forward, but this is about all I have. I think I have one more picture actually that shows a little bit more of the development of the tree. But you can see here even the base is, starting to have little feet. And, this tree cuttings are ferociously growing this. And here you can see the last picture where it's kind of getting to look a bit more like it looks now, right? It's a bit smaller and chunky, and I have just been developing it in this, sort of style ever since, where it's basically a right, left, back, and it grows so thick. It's really a nice tree just to have sort of a green form. I should also mention one of the cool features of this specific variety is when the new leaves come out, they're this bright yellow, almost a banana yellow, and they also miniaturize very, very well. And then over time, they turn into more of a lime green and then a darker green. And so it's really cool. It's like you get sort of a mini fall transition in just the natural growth of the leaves on this variety, which I really, really like. So let's return from our trip down memory lane and get to current work on the tree, where we're just going to do the simple goal of profile pruning and then some detail fine pruning. You can see it's pretty shaggy, so I'm just going to start by taking stuff that's straight up, and I prune pretty quick when I'm doing the initial profile pruning. So anything that's up or growing back, I just immediately take it off. Or if it's growing, when I say back, I mean to the inside of the tree. And I find this is just a really good first step and kind of gets you to a point where you can see what's going on. I'm probably going to prune this tree pretty hard today. I tend to let this one go pretty wild and then prune it back really hard. It seems to like that. Um, I've been getting great thickening on the trunk and the branches, and it's always been quite a healthy tree. So I'm going to continue to do that. And you can see I'm sort of giving it I was going to say chainsaw, but the weed whacker treatment here. And, especially with an overgrown tree like this, where I'm just going back to a profile pruning. I mean, I know Nigel uses his. This is my version of blue scissors. I just come in here and just kind of get it to the general shape I want. Um, just by hitting, very quickly hitting individual stems, and then I come in and do more finer detailed work. So you can see even, I mean, a minute, right? This looks vastly better than what we just had. And I think that's a good tip with your, at least with these indoor bonsai where these things just grow constantly year round. If you don't have time to do a good detail pruning, just come in here and hit it with a profile pruning because, it basically allows the tree to, you know, not focus on growth that you don't want and, just get thicker where you do want it. And, it might not be perfect, but you're probably going to be better off than just letting it grow super wild and then everything thickens up to a degree where you may have to actually remove branches. So now I'm coming in and I kind of pick up the branches because this thing is so thick. I like to think of it as it almost looks like dragon scale. It's so, the leaves are so small and they sort of overlap and they're so thick that you really do have to kind of pick it up and kind of wiggle in there among the branches a bit to see where you want to prune it. So I'm kind of doing some of that, and I'm also just kind of, we'll look at it from the top here in a minute, but I also want to prune the round profile, right? Because I feel like the tree's getting a little too wide, and I do want it wider, but I think I want more branching as it gets wider. So I want to tighten that up a little bit too. And of course, there's always this stuff in the trunk that this thing just buds back like crazy. And part of it could be that I feed these pretty well, year round, and so that could be why. But this thing really likes to back bud. And I also keep it well watered. I should definitely mention that. Not constantly wet, but I get it really wet. Sometimes I'll even soak it for 20 minutes in a bucket, a half hour, and then let it get completely dry. And then, I'll just water it with my sprayer, but, I let it dry in between that. And then periodically, maybe every 3 weeks, I give it a nice dip in a bucket. And yeah, it really seems to like that. So I'm tipping it up here, giving you a underside look. I always like to prune the downward facing stuff, and this is a great way to do it. You just kind of tip the plant, and you can really see your branches going out and anything that's hanging down. It's quite easy to see it because it's coming right at you, and you can just prune it off. I've got these in a bit close. I'm going to take those off. And yeah, it's looking better and better. The holidays are coming up, and I think if I wanted to display this tree, I might just stop now, but I think I want to take it back and get it ready for its next phase of growth. So we're going to keep going, but I think it looks good right now. Let's take a look at the top. This is kind of what you want to do because you sort of want it to be like an oval shape or a round shape from the top. And so it really helps to look at your trees. I call it a sun's eye view because you kind of look down here. And, anything you can't see is basically going to die because it doesn't get light. And you can see it's quite thick now. So part of my goal is to come in here and thin out these branches so that I can see my fingers when I stick them in there. And of course, it'll thicken up, over the next month or two again, and then we kind of refine and keep repeating. But yeah, look at your trees from the top like this. It really, really helps to see what you need to be doing pruning wise. So I kind of want to we'll take a downward angle so you can sort of see what I'm seeing as I look at this. And I basically just go branch by branch and kind of really get my fingers in here. And you can see I'm thinning out side branches that are growing into the branches, next to them. And at some point I have to do more branch selection on this because I think I have some branches that are too close. But my goal is to keep this tree pretty close to its current size. So, you really have to do a lot of pruning in order to do that. And eventually it gets too thick and then you just you know do some branch selection and then kind of widen out the ones you have. But yeah, I just kind of go section by section like this, and I'm really simplifying it out. And like I said, I'm taking, in the much the same way that I cut branches that are growing towards the inside, I take off leaves that are growing in there as well because I really want to create sparsity on these branches so that I can see down through them, so that more light will get in there and I'll get new leaves where I'm currently cutting them off, and they'll be even smaller and tighter. And yeah, so I just keep doing that. So I'm basically going around. And, I kind of think of it as it's kind of like painting. I mean, I'm not uh, using a micrometer with each brush stroke. I'm sort of, I have a general picture of what I want, and I just kind of move quickly and make the branch look like that picture. And most of the time, I feel like I'm a broken record, and I think you guys know this if you watch my channel. Just take it back to one or two sets of leaves, and most often I go with one set of leaves, and you'll get new growth, and you just keep refining that, and over time you get lots of ramification and small leaves, and it becomes a very convincing looking tree. And at some point, you get too much ramification, and then you have to simplify to thicker branches that then you ramify again, and you just keep doing that. And it really leads to some nice results. So yeah, as you can see, especially on the inside here, um, I'm getting a lot of just straight upward growth that is sort of preventing my ability to see. I sort of I want to see some space between these lower branches and the upper branches. And so that's another one of my goals. So I not only want a space between the branches on that horizontal plane, but I also want vertical space between the upper branches and lower branches. And it really just gives a whole new dimension. Here I'm just doing some profile pruning. Like I said, I wanted these to be a little shorter. And sometimes the best way is just make it shorter. It'll grow back. These things bad bud, back bud so readily that you really don't have to be concerned about. I mean, you can completely defoliate it if you want, and who knows, we may get there yet with this pruning. But I mean, notice already you can really see the branches now, which you couldn't see before at all. And they're a key part of a tree, and we really want to see that with our bonsai. So, um, yeah, this tree will eventually thicken up, and again, you won't be able to see the branches. Um, but I think it's nice to periodically get back to that. And it also helps you fix any structural issues. I can see here you can see I mean, I've got one to two kind of everywhere with these main branches. I feel like that thick branch in the front, I may have to take off, or do something. Because you see, I have parallel branches there. But when the leaves are on, you can't really see that. And so I've just been kicking the can down the road. And that's also my primary branch. So I want everything to be super thick over there. So I'm just allowing it to grow. And, eventually I will have to do something with that as well. So moving on to the top branches here, and hopefully you can see a little bit from the side. I don't know who said it, but you sort of want to create space between your branches so that like a bird or something could fly through there. And it really is the most poetic good advice I can kind of come up with, because uh, as I'm moving on to the top here, you can really see I'm taking the leaves that are pointing down and ones that are up. And I'm just creating, some void space between the branches above it and the branches below it. And, when you do that, it really opens up the tree, and, it just becomes much more convincing, because rather than being, just sort of a blob of green, you sort of have that because you've got, this, even though I've been hacking away at it for the better part of a quarter of an hour here. there's still a tremendous amount of leaves and green on it, so you still get an overall nice impression. But also by thinning it out a lot and really taking it down to its essence and getting rid of leaves and branches that I don't need and making it more compact. You sort of see the trunk and the brown of the branches through the leaves, and to me that just really makes the whole composition much more convincing. And you can see that. I mean, this tree is. I guess I've had it in a pot. This will be its third year, so it's really, these Portulacaria Afra really miniaturized. I mean, these leaves are really small. I mean, normally if you and I have a few this I've had quite a few cuttings off of this now, and I just let some go wild, and the leaves in that case are quite large. So yeah, the bonsai process really works well with this variety of tree. So I'm just continuing on here, really thinning it out, and it's like a land of a thousand snips on this tree because it just really has dense, compact growth. I should mention I was talking about how long this tree's been in the pot. I'm pretty sure this is one of the ones. I had an automated watering system, and it was too painful to do a video on it because it really set quite a few of my trees back. Because um, I think in the end, I think I misprogrammed it. Maybe it's stuck open, I don't know, but the trees were just soaking wet for like the entire time I was gone, which was I don't know, probably 12 days, and so to do that over again, I think I would just give them no water at all and shut the lights off, and I think it would be fine. But I wanted to keep them going. But anyway, I gave that whole system away. I don't even know. It was kind of inexpensive to begin with, but I sort of gave up on at least on indoor stuff. I do have one outdoors, although I didn't even use it last year. So it's one of those things that you think is such a great idea, but at least for me, and maybe it's because I do have a lot of trees, but they're small and they're kind of closely, um, they kind of sit closely together in the bench, so it's easy for me to take a fine sprayer and just hose them down on hot days when they need a drink. So I just haven't. It's not that I haven't found the use for it. I just find I've had bad experiences where it gets too much water or not enough water, or you know, the few times I've had actual rot with some of my crassula was totally because of the automated watering, because it just kept, you know, I thought it was fine, and you tend to not look at the plants as closely as you might otherwise, and that kind of leads to problems. Like I do feel I'm just kind of gonna pull some of these branches off with my fingers and get any loose stuff out of here. And we're getting pretty close. You can definitely see I've thinned it out quite a bit. I'll just use the brush on it. But yeah, I feel like with watering, with bugs, with anything, you really that I think that's going to be my thought for the day. You really want to look at all your trees as often as possible. And for me, that's daily, just because I just enjoy the process so much. And, I kind of view these things as like a pet or something, where I'm going to feed it, I'm going to take care of it, I'm going to be on the lookout for any health issues. And, if you do that, and, you hit things early on, like, you see one mealybug crawling around, and you're watching your plants enough that you're going to notice it fairly soon. Maybe it came in on a banana, something like that. I've heard that happens a lot. And you kill that one and you're kind of done. Whereas if you hadn't looked at that tree for a week, 10 days, whatever, it could be a bad situation, because once those once those guys start building up their defenses, they can be quite formidable. So yeah, I'm not against the automated watering stuff. I just, for me, Um, I'm much more confident doing it myself and inspecting the trees every day. So in terms of pruning, I think that's kind of a wrap with this one. Let's drop back down and I'll give you a nice tour of the tree here. I think, you can see we've created a lot of space and I kind of tightened the profile a bit and really accomplished the goals I wanted to do with this tree. And, it'll quickly fill out again. But you can see the base of the trunk is coming along nicely. I'll do a few fine. I think I might just want to clean that up a little bit. Um, but yeah, I think it's a nice looking tree. This is one of the more popular ones. People really like it, and I'll show you the branches here in a minute. I think we sort of I think in the beginning what I like to do is be able to look down on the tree and stick my fingers in on those branches and be able to see them. And that really allows me to closely see that I've thinned it out enough that light can get into those branches and create even more compact growth and ramification. And I think it's just good for the health of the tree to get air in there. You can see the trunk here and the base is really, I've got these fingers just kind of grabbing the soil, which I really like. This kind of big one's in the back. I think that's going to smooth out over time. Like I feel when I repot it next, I'll take a much closer look at that and see what's going on with those roots. I may have to sort of weaken that a bit, but I've got this shape now and I've kind of brought it in a bit and just kind of opened it up and shrunk it down. And yeah, let's take it for a spin. You can kind of see the top there. At the top of the video, I showed you the original state of the tree, and you can see some remnants of that, but it's closing up and looking good. Here it is from the back. I could probably take a few more leaves off, but I think I'm just gonna let it go until next time. But yeah, I think that's a wrap for the pruning, and I want to show you a top view of the tree, and then also I'll show you the cuttings. I'll show you how much we kind of took off of this. Not really cuttings in this case; they're mostly leaves. But so here we are from the top, and you can see if I stick my hand under there. Um, I can clearly see everything. And I was looking at this branch. This is what I was talking about. I'll have to simplify this at some point, but I think for now, I'm fine with letting it go. I may allow this branch in the back to sort of come out towards the front and get rid of that one in the middle. Don't know. But, this is looking nice and sparse and thin. You can clearly see right through it and see my hand and fingers under there, which was definitely part of what I was going for. And it's always a good idea. Like I sort of allowed this to dry out, so I've got some naturally shriveled leaves there. But like I just pull the old ones off because you'll quickly get new leaves and they'll be much more charming. This one's a little thick. I could probably take a bit out of there, but it's thin enough. I mean, you can see through it. Um, and yeah, so I definitely recommend looking at your trees from the top down, which is easy in tiny trees like this, because I think it really helps you to prune them to a point that they're thin enough that the light can really get in there. And with that, we're almost done. I want to show you the cuttings and one more shot of the base of this tree. It's just really has turned out nice. I mean, it's kind of like the width of the pot now, so it's really thickened up nicely. And we'll deal with that a bit more in the next repotting. But yeah, I'm super happy with how this one turned out. Like I said, this is one of the trees that you guys like the most. And so, yeah, yet another pruning and back on the bench. And let's take a look at the cutting. So you can see I took quite a bit off here, and not all of it. I guess some of them are pretty long. But there you go. Thanks for spending time with me, and I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon.